Middle Eastern property investors are continuing to head to London to invest. We're here to find out why. My name is Shayan Shakil. I'm with Eddie Taylor. This is Inside AB. So, Eddie, London is still the place to invest in if you're from the Middle East.
Well, sort of. I mean, I think it always has been. It's long been a popular place for people to put their wealth and their money buying properties in the centre of London particularly. But we've actually seen a little bit of a pause in that in the last couple of years. The Brexit effect has kind of deflated the market. And a lot of people that were moving money into central London, into large townhouses, into apartments, into office space, have basically kind of pulled out and sat on the sidelines a little bit. It was no longer offering the kind of returns that it was. So there's been a bit of doubt, a bit of trepidation about the London property market. Basically, up until around about now, surrounding the Brexit vote, which actually hasn't, Brexit hasn't happened yet, so there's still quite a lot of uncertainty. But what we're actually finding is that people are now just beginning to tentatively move back in, and it actually might be a good time to do that.
Right, but I mean, even post-Brexit, it's still a pretty expensive market to invest in, isn't it?
Listen, it is. It's still one of the most expensive places in the world to buy property of any type. But what we've actually seen since the Brexit vote is a large-scale sell-off of prices. Values have been plummeting. So if you look at these figures here, in 2017 alone, property in Westminster, right in the heart of London, dropped 20%. I mean, that's a staggering fall.
Wow.
And we're seeing that a lot across the prime real estate portions of London. So in 2018, according to people like JLL, they actually reckon that there's going to be a 5% fall in prices in the likes of Knightsbridge, Kensington, South Kensington, places that are traditionally popular with the Middle Eastern buyer. So maybe these are some buying signals. Anyone that's waiting on the sidelines is now beginning to move in just because the values are much more attractive.
Right. I mean, it sounds great financially, but there must be other reasons why London's an attractive place to invest in.
Yeah, this is one of the sort of slightly underappreciated parts of the property market, particularly from the overseas buyer, is that a lot of high net worth individuals like to send their children overseas to school. There's some statistics that say 40% of high net worth individuals in the Middle East are 40% are looking to send their children or are considering sending their children to school overseas. So, I mean, in some cases that might be boarding school somewhere, but in other cases they actually want property in London or in the UK as a base for their children to live and go to school. And that's been followed up by, there's been a 10% increase in demand from international clients, I guess you call them, parents wanting to send their children to the independent school sector in London. So those figures are now beginning to marry up. Also applies to universities as well. So if you want to send your child to a university in London, you've got to send them to live somewhere, so why not buy a place?
Right, but it's certainly not just the residential property market. I mean, there must be commercial sales as well.
Yeah, I mean, the real estate market is very much driven by both the residential and commercial, particularly for investors that are looking for yields, looking for returns. The London property market has been notoriously bad. The residential market has been notoriously bad for yields.
Right.
Compared to other parts of the UK, you'll be only getting 2.5%, 3% yield on a residential property.
Right.
Whereas in northern cities like Manchester, like Leeds, like Liverpool, you're getting 6.5%, 7%. So a lot of that money has kind of come out of the residential market in London. But commercial property doing really well. I mean, 4.25% you'll get yields in the city of London, 3.5% in the West End, and that compares to 2.6% in Hong Kong. So that's another big driver.
That's huge. So Eddie, are you looking to get dip your feet into the market?
Well, yeah. I mean, what's interesting is we're going to still see pictures like this every summer, which is a summer staple in the UK media scene. You'll always see the kind of the mirrored Lamborghini parked outside Regent Street. In 2016. Of all overseas buyers, the Middle East buyers in prime real estate in London made up 10%. So it's still a big draw for the Middle Eastern buyer, prime London real estate. That took a dip with Brexit, but it looks like those numbers are going to return to the norm.
Well, that makes it look like summer's here. Thank you very much, Eddie. This is Shayan Shakil with Eddie Taylor. Tune in tomorrow for the next edition of Inside AB. Thanks for joining us.